Was the 2016 trip to Havana a masterful stroke of diplomacy, or was it the single most embarrassing capitulation to a communist regime in modern American history? As the Justice Department finally drops the hammer on the Castro family, the optics of that historic presidential visit are being dragged back into the light, and they are causing more outrage than ever before. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in US politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and ensures you don't miss the updates that the mainstream media often tries to gloss over. The news broke Wednesday like a political earthquake. The Department of Justice unsealed a superseding indictment against former Cuban President Raúl Castro and 5 of his co-defendants. The charges? They are directly connected to the 1996 shootdown of 2 unarmed civilian aircraft in international airspace, an act of state-sponsored aggression that resulted in the horrific deaths of 4 U.S. nationals. For decades, families of the victims have waited for justice, and now, finally, the wheels of the federal government are turning. But the timing of this indictment has breathed new life into an old, bitter debate, the legacy of Barack Obama's 2016 push to normalize relations with Havana. You likely remember the images. Obama, standing on the grass of a baseball stadium in Havana, laughing and embracing Raúl Castro while a game between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cuban national team played on. At the time, the White House framed it as burying the last remnant of the Cold War. Obama spoke of extending the hand of friendship to the Cuban people. Critics, however, remember it very differently. Former Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, who is Cuban American, didn't mince words when asked about the optics of the situation. He called the administration's approach naive at best and incompetent at worst. According to Suarez and a host of other critics, that trip wasn't a peace mission, it was a PR victory for a brutal dictatorship. The administration gave the regime legitimacy on the world stage, relaxed economic restrictions, and reopened diplomatic channels, yet, as we see today, the Cuban people remain trapped under the same repressive system, and the United States gained virtually nothing in terms of security or human rights concessions. The resurfaced photos of the embrace between the American president and the communist dictator have set the internet ablaze. Prominent voices like Lieutenant General Mike Flynn and Fox News contributor Paul Mauro have ripped the former president, pointing out that while Obama was sharing a dugout with Castro, that same regime was actively harboring American terrorists and criminals. The indictment unsealed this week changes the narrative from one of diplomatic engagement to one of accountability. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche made it clear, nations and their leaders cannot be permitted to target Americans, kill them, and not face accountability. This stands in stark contrast to the approach taken during the Obama years, where the focus was on engagement at almost any cost. Trump, meanwhile, has been vocal about his support for the move, signaling that for the Cuban-American community in Florida and beyond, this isn't just about a headline, it's about decades of pain, confiscated property, silenced voices, and abandoned political prisoners. The fallout here is significant. It's not just a debate about past policy, it's a warning about the future of U.S. foreign policy toward authoritarian regimes. The critics argue that Obama's normalization ignored the reality that Cuba has been, and remains, a base for intelligence gathering against the United States, a hub for narco-state activity, and a destabilizing force throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. By pretending the regime was a normal partner, the critics argue that the U.S. actually signaled weakness. As the legal proceedings against the Castro regime move forward, we are left with a very uncomfortable question. Was this normalization strategy a failure that emboldened our enemies, or was it a necessary step toward changing the status quo? I want to hear from you. Do you believe Barack Obama's trip to Cuba was an act of statesmanship, or was it an unforgivable betrayal of the victims of the Castro regime? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know where you stand on this. This is a developing situation, and as we learn more about the evidence in this indictment and how it relates to previous diplomatic failures, we will be here to break it down for you. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next update.